Depression doesn't just lower your mood, it dims your whole brain chemistry. Neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, the chemicals responsible for pleasure, drive, and connection, stop working the way they should. The result isn't sadness with a clear cause, it's a heaviness with no story behind it, a flatness that persists no matter what's actually happening in your life. Sleep stops being restful. 10 hours can leave you just as tired as none. Food loses its flavor. Things you used to love suddenly feel meaningless. And underneath it all is a quiet, convincing voice telling you nothing will change. A voice you believe because depression doesn't argue, it just insists. Telling someone with depression to think positive or go outside misses the point entirely. This isn't a mood people can talk themselves out of. It's a brain that is struggling, physically, to manufacture the chemistry that makes motivation and joy possible. Thinking slows down. Small decisions become exhausting. Getting out of bed can feel like scaling a wall. Some people sleep constantly, others can't sleep at all. People withdraw, not from indifference, but because keeping up appearances costs energy they no longer have. Left untreated, depression quietly rewrites someone's sense of identity, convincing them the numbness is permanent and that hope was always a lie. It rarely announces itself, it just gets louder in the silence. Generalized anxiety disorder takes ordinary worry and turns it into a permanent alarm. The brain reacts to everyday life as though it's an emergency, releasing stress hormones even when nothing dangerous is actually happening. Everyone worries occasionally. About money, relationships, deadlines. But this disorder stretches that worry across everything, all the time, including things that will probably never happen. Nights are spent imagining disasters. Conversations get replayed obsessively, hunting for mistakes. One fear leads straight into the next. Physically, the body never fully relaxes. Tense shoulders, a knotted stomach, a heart that races without explanation. Even simple choices, should I send this text? Will they misread it? Start to feel like they carry catastrophic stakes. The nervous system has essentially forgotten how to tell real danger apart from imagined danger. Being told to just relax is about as useful as telling someone with a broken leg to walk normally. Over time, people start avoiding anything that might trigger the spiral, and the world quietly shrinks around them. ADHD is often misunderstood as simply can't focus. In reality, it's a difference in how the brain regulates attention, impulse control, and energy, largely tied to how the prefrontal cortex develops and functions. The desire to concentrate, sit still, or finish a task is there. The follow-through isn't always available. People with ADHD can hyperfocus for hours on something that captivates them. The challenge is that they can't always choose what earns that focus. Uninteresting tasks can feel almost physically difficult to start. Attention drifts mid-conversation, even in conversations that matter to them. Keys go missing, appointments get forgotten, projects stall halfway. Not from laziness, but because the brain isn't producing enough dopamine to make follow-through feel rewarding. Impulsivity shows up too. Interrupting, blurting things out, buying on a whim. Restlessness can be constant, fidgeting, foot tapping, an inability to sit still. Time becomes hard to judge, so deadlines seem to appear out of nowhere. Labels like careless or unmotivated sting because internally, the effort being put in is often invisible to everyone else. It's a gap between intention and action that willpower alone doesn't close. OCD locks the mind into a loop. An intrusive thought arrives and it won't leave. These are obsessions, unwanted, often disturbing thoughts or images that intrude no matter how hard someone tries to push them away. A fear of contamination, a nagging certainty the stove was left on, a violent image that feels horrifying and involuntary. To quiet the panic these thoughts create, compulsions follow. Repeated hand-washing, checking locks over and over, counting, tapping, arranging things just so. The relief never lasts. Within moments, the anxiety returns and demands the ritual again. OCD convinces someone that their thoughts carry real power, that not performing the ritual will cause the feared outcome. People casually joke about being so OCD over tidiness, but the real disorder is far from that. Sufferers usually know the compulsion is irrational. They just can't stop themselves from doing it anyway. Hours vanish into rituals, and the grip only tightens. PTSD happens when the brain gets stuck in survival mode after living through something terrifying. An assault, an accident, combat, abuse. Normally, once danger passes, the nervous system settles and the memory gets filed away. With PTSD, that process breaks down, and the brain keeps replaying the event as though it's happening in the present. Flashbacks aren't like remembering, they're reliving. A smell, a sound, a passing image can pull someone back instantly, complete with a racing heart and the genuine belief that they're in danger again. Nightmares disrupt sleep. Hypervigilance makes relaxing, even somewhere safe, feel impossible. Loud noises trigger a flinch. Crowds feel suffocating. Whole areas of life get avoided just to sidestep reminders. Emotions swing unpredictably. Sudden anger, or a numbness that disconnects someone even from people they love. Concentration suffers because part of the brain is always on watch for threats. PTSD can feel like losing the person you used to be, even as your mind desperately tries, in its own misguided way, to protect you. Bipolar disorder swings the brain between two extremes, mania and depression, in episodes that can last days, weeks, or longer. During mania, energy and confidence surge to an almost unstoppable level. 2 hours of sleep feels like enough. Ideas come rapid fire. Everything seems achievable, and risky decisions can suddenly seem brilliant. Overspending, launching too many projects at once, believing in some grand breakthrough. The world can feel more vivid, connections more meaningful, stillness nearly impossible. But that intensity is unsustainable. Thoughts can outrun the ability to follow them. Irritability spikes. In severe cases, mania tips into paranoia or delusion. Then comes the crash. The depressive phase drains all that energy away, and getting out of bed becomes a struggle. The contrast makes the low feel even heavier, since the memory of having energy is still fresh. This isn't the same as mood swings. It's a fundamental shift in brain chemistry that arrives without asking. Relationships strain under the unpredictability, and the aftershocks of manic decisions often land during the depressive stretch that follows. Panic disorder triggers a false alarm so intense it can feel like dying. The amygdala, the brain's fear center, misfires, launching a full survival response even though there's no actual threat. Panic attacks often strike without warning. The heart pounds hard enough to feel dangerous, the chest tightens, sweat breaks out. Hands go numb, the room seems to spin. In the moment, it feels catastrophic. A heart attack, a stroke, a loss of control. Every physical symptom fuels more fear, and the fear fuels more symptoms, in a loop that usually peaks within about 10 minutes before slowly fading, leaving exhaustion behind. The deeper trap is what comes after: fear of the next attack. People start avoiding wherever the first one happened: stores, highways, crowds, and that anticipatory anxiety actually makes future attacks more likely. For some, the world shrinks until leaving home at all feels impossible. Panic disorder doesn't just create fear of external situations, it creates fear of one's own body. This content is for general educational purposes and isn't a substitute for a professional diagnosis. If you're personally struggling with any of what's described here, talking to a doctor or mental health professional is a good next step. And if you're in crisis, reach out to a crisis line in your area for support.